So I have been owning the Tesla Model 3 Long Range for 1 week now, and I'm going to just tell you how it's been changing from an ICE vehicle, or what's it called, and combustion engine vehicle, into my first electric car, the Tesla Model 3 2023 Extra Long Range model. Now there are some reasons why I've been wondering if I made a mistake buying this car, but I'll get back to this later in the video. I'll also get into the experience of changing from an ICE engine, a combustion engine, into the electric car. You know what? This is the first electric car in my friend group and in my family, even though it's about 32% of all new cars registered in my country are electric cars. It's still new, and I feel the fear, uncertainty, doubt, the FUD when people ask me all sort of questions. And boy, do people have a lot of questions. And I don't think it's because people are nosy or it's negative questions. It's just because that most of them most certainly know that their next car will probably be an electric vehicle. So there are some questions that they would actually like to know. And I've collected all of these questions, which I'm going to answer for you, so you could know if you have some of the same questions sitting there at home. And the first question is always the same. What happens if you run out of battery? And I'm like, have you ever run out of fuel or gas when driving in a car? Maybe you have, then you can just of course fill it up. But I have never, in the I think 15 years or so of driving, never run out of gas or fuel or what you call it, because of course I stop to fill up the tank before I run out. So it's the same thing with a battery. It's just like I have these 600 kilometers, and of course I'm going to recharge my battery before I run out. And then I have this one: what happens if the car catches fire while recharging at home? And I'm like, what happens if you die tomorrow? What happens if the car at home you have explodes the next time you turn on the engine? I don't know what happens if it catches fire when I recharge at home. I ever heard of this happening like once or something, and think about they're selling like tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of these cars, and this almost never happened. It's like 1 or 2 times it have ever happened. So I'm not afraid of that. I'm not living my life in fear, and neither should you. I'm really trying to find a place where it's not that windy. I really hope you can hear me. I think I'm just going to answer the rest of the questions from in here because it's too windy outside. So what do you do when you have to service or repair the car? The question is because there is so long from my home to the Tesla dealership. And the thing is, according to Tesla, I don't have to service the car. And according to everyone online, the car doesn't need service. There's 8 years of full guarantee on the car without any servicing on it. You don't have to service anything in the engine because it doesn't have an engine. And some are like lubricating the brakes because you never use the brakes, and if you want them to last longer, some are like lubricating them or something. But it's not necessary. The only real cost should be replacing the tires, but you have that on a regular old car as well. And there's like, what happens if you crash the car? Won't you die in like a blazing fire? And I don't know how to answer that either, because I don't plan on crashing the car. I didn't plan on crashing my old cars as well. I think that is at least as safe as crashing another car, but I don't know anything about that to be sure. I think there's a lot of built-in safety features in the Tesla, especially that makes it less likely for me to crash the car than the other cars. There's auto braking and all of this AI stuff inside the car that makes it much more safe for me to drive. And then the question that everyone is talking about: how much does it cost to replace the battery if the battery dies? I don't know, but I know this, that in the first 8 years I'm going to own this car, there's a full guarantee on the battery. So if it dies, I'll get a new one. And if it degrades, I think it's past 25% or something, I'll also get a replacement battery. I asked the lady in the Tesla store how much it would cost, and in Danish it would be about 100,000 right now to replace the entire battery pack, but she's betting that in the next 5 to 10 years this cost will drop dramatically because everyone will be getting electric cars. So that translated, that's about $14,000 for a new battery, but I think it's probably less in the United States. And then I got a lot of tax questions which are specific to my country, which makes no sense to include here. And my mom even asked me this: if I ran out of electricity just on the highway or something, couldn't I just put fuel on instead and go the rest of the way? And I had to say to her like 2 or 3 times that there's no combustion engine in the car. It's only electric. It's just like driving a big iPhone. The second day I had the car, I got to talk to a Tesla owner who had his Tesla for just coming up to 8 years now. And he had one of the, I think it's called an S-Class. It's the P something back then. So it's about 8 years now, and he had no cost on that vehicle for those 8 years. He had his battery replaced, but it was paid by Tesla, and he had some other things replaced on the car, but everything was replaced and paid by Tesla. And he had one of the earlier models where the build quality is not the same as it is in one of these newer models. And if you're a car owner, you know that even newer cars have to have service. And in my country, I put aside like $500 for servicing a car every year. But he never put his car to service in that 8 years of ownership he had it. He only paid for replacement tires. And he talked to a lot of other Tesla owners. Some are replacing the tires every year because they just burn them out because of all that horsepower these cars have. But he drove very sensible and had his tires last for 3 years or something. But he also did like what I'm going to do and replace the tires for winter season and summer season, because I live in a very cold country. And this is actually the thing I need to talk to you about, because I was wondering if I made the mistake of buying this particular model, because this is the Tesla Model 3. You call it extra long range because it's not a long range model. It's a long range only rear-wheel drive model. This means that it has extra long range than the normal long range, but it also means that it doesn't have the dual motor. And I saved about $7,000, $8,000 by buying this version that has a longer range than the long range, but it doesn't have the same power as a long range. The insurance companies doesn't know about this model, so I'm paying the same in insurance as you are going to do on the 500 horsepower dual motor long range, but I don't have that same amount of power. This have a 0 to 100 kilometers in 5.9, and the standard, the slowest Model 3 is 6.1, so it's almost exactly the same as the slowest, the small Model 3, but where you go to the long range dual motor, it has 4.4. So I was thinking like a lot, should I have bought the standard long range with dual motors to have that extra bit of oomph, the extra bit of speed, and the 4-wheel drive for in the winter seasons, because I'm afraid that the rear-wheel drive will not be good enough, because I have owned like a 250 horsepower BMW with all the rear-wheel drive, and it's just gliding around in the snow. But I've seen a lot of videos online saying that the Tesla is not the same, because all of the weight is down below and on the wheels. You don't glide around. And this also have the winter pack, so the software should know how to handle the snow. But let's see how that's going to do in 6 months time. Sometimes it snows, sometimes it doesn't, but that was my only fear. And could I go back and make it different now? I've really been thinking about if it was stupid, but I know myself enough I drive like a grandma, so I drive really slow, and this car is more for me. I think this is the sensible choice, the most sensible choice of all the Teslas. It's the longest range and it's one of the cheapest models. It has room enough for all of us, so it's just, I was really thinking about if I made a mistake here. And I'm just really fast going to touch upon like going from an ICE engine to electric vehicle. And I remember the first time like I drove a luxury sedan. I was about 18 years old. I drove a Mercedes S-Class and had this luxury, super cool, smooth automatic gear change. And I was in Denmark, we always drive stick shift. So that was the first time I drove one of these luxury sedans. And I remember it because I borrowed my boss's car. He made me get something from time to time, and I drove his big Mercedes. I remember that luxury feeling. I know I had to have like this luxury feeling again. And I tell you, this car, the Model 3, the smallest version, is more luxurious to drive than from 15 years ago the Mercedes S-Class was back then. And I think the luxury feel of this car is just like nothing I have ever tried before. It's not that the materials used in this car is super luxury at all. It's just a smooth ride of driving electricity. It's undescribable. If you never driven an electric car before, I can't tell you the difference. It's night and day from driving a normal combustion engine car to driving this. It's easier to drive slowly. It's easier to drive fast. There's no like hindrance of going from 10 kilometers an hour to 100 kilometers an hour like this, and you can brake fast without even touching the brakes, because it has like this auto brakes that puts power back in the car, and the software in this Tesla car is just out of this world. I just from a week ownership of driving like 600-700 kilometers, it's nothing that compares to anything other than the car world. And all the generation before me, the boomers, the old guys, they're saying they will never drive an electric vehicle, and they call them like toy cars. It's just like, your car is a toy car compared to this. This is a spaceship compared to these other cars. But yeah, that's my thought after owning it for 1 week. If you have any questions, please leave it in the comments below. I'd like to make much more videos in my car, about my car. If you have any questions, specific questions about this extra long range model, leave it in the comments. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video. Bye.